Failure is a lack of planning. A man with a plan succeeds. When you don't have a plan, you have no direction. That's why you'll fail. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. Today, I'm going to talk to you about a man with a plan succeeds and why a man without a plan fails. Because without planning, you've got no direction. You don't know where to go. You don't know what direction you need to change even after you start moving around. Think of a road trip. If you just start driving, you don't know where you're going, you're going to get lost. Without a map or without an idea of where you're going, that's the only place to get to where you want to go. It's now 1992. I'll share with you a story. It's 1992. I get an opportunity to enter into an architectural scholarship, have my first year, I basically have my college paid for, and is an architectural design competition for NJIT. My architecture teacher, Mr. Manfria, presented it to me, and another student decided to take it on ourselves. We had to design a kindergarten was the challenge, and I'm looking at this, what they had planned for us, what the requirements were, and I didn't know what to do, how to start, what to even begin with. And I had done a book report on Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the greatest architects of all time, and that's the only thing I knew about architecture, so that's what I applied, his principles. And I remember, okay, I read about this. How did Frank Lloyd Wright start? What did Mr. Manfred teach me? Always start with the bubble diagram of the most essential spaces. And I'm in the middle of math class, and I'm writing on the back cover of my book. I'm 17, it's 1992. In math class, I'm writing on the back of the cover all these little bubble diagrams. I've got the hallway, I've got admin, I've got kids' playground, I've got parking lot. And I just start moving, I'm moving these bubbles around to see how they can be arranged. And suddenly, this idea popped. This is the winning design. This is the one to go with. This is the plan to take. I began to then set forth, how is this layout going to look like? And I played with different schematics. But I knew I had to get the initial layout first. Then I decided how big the rooms were going to be, how big the building was going to be, how big each area was going to be, what would it actually look like. I planned and I planned and I planned, and my plans changed. And eventually, I completed the kindergarten project. I had planned on working 3 days a week after school. That was what I committed to doing. And that's what I did. I sacrificed a lot of my other time, playtime, to stay after school. That was my plan. And it paid off. I won the 5-year scholarship. I got a 5-year, well, another story. I wound up going to architecture school, and I wound up failing out of my first year, and I changed my whole major to psychology. But that's another story. But that's how I succeeded in that time, was having a plan. And the plan wasn't set in stone. The plan kept changing. As I went along, new needs were discovered, and the plans had to adapt to the needs of the situation, the needs of the design. As the design evolved, the dynamics changed because I became aware of more and more things that needed to be taken into consideration, which then enabled me, or made me aware, I should say, to change the plans. And the plans evolved. Now, as a business owner, and you know this, if you're an entrepreneur, whether you're a sales rep, an insurance life broker, whether you're a massage therapist, in any kind of service industry, you know that your business needs to be planned, or maybe you don't because you're experiencing it not working out. When you start a business, you always start with a business plan. A man with a plan succeeds, or a woman with a plan succeeds. Without a plan, there's no direction. You start with a vision. You always start with the vision of the business. Whom are you serving? What community are you serving? What is their problem? How are you solving their problem? If people are thirsty and hungry, you want to offer them food and beverage. And then the problem would be, well, good, what style of food? In other words, you have an initial intent. And then you plan how that intent, how that expression of who you are is going to manifest. Let's just say you're a life insurance broker. You have a plan of succeeding, but what does that plan look like? You need client acquisition. How are you going to acquire clients? You need to network. What does that mean? You need to go to network meetings. You need to socialize. You need to say hello to people. Well, what does that mean? You got to get up off the couch and actually go out there and start attending events and introducing yourself. Then what? You have to say people are interested in you. Then what? Then you have to introduce them to some sort of formal meeting. How do you plan that? Is it going to be on Zoom? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be in person? Do you have a brick and mortar business? Is it a home office? Do you take them out for dinner? How do you entertain? And then once you've established that, you've established rapport, because that's the goal of it. How do you establish rapport? Then how do you present your offer? How are you going to present that offer? That's a plan. So you see there's a structure. There's a structure to any kind of business of getting your name known to your customers and clients, bonding with your customers and clients, developing rapport, and then creating an offer. So that is the basic step in any entrepreneurial ship. And without understanding the structure, you're not going to know how to plan. Because planning for anything sets forth a direction to take. You at least need to start heading in the right direction, and then you're going to bend with the curves in the roads. In other words, you're going to learn how to handle objections. You're going to learn how to make the close. You're going to learn how to create different offers for people, different plans. There's different life insurance plans, mental health care therapists, life coaches, all of things like that. You need to learn how to acquire clients, advertising and marketing. Now you got a plan for marketing. Now you got a plan for closing. You got a plan for lead gen. You got a plan for following up and nurturing your leads. How are you going to do that? You plan for it. You see how the plan works. Whenever you make a plan, it changes, it evolves, it grows. Because any entrepreneur knows that once you start something, once you have a plan, after you start taking steps, that plan goes out the door, because then you become aware of other dynamics that which you were not aware of before, your blind spots. And you need to take into consideration other factors you weren't aware of. Now that you become aware of them, now that the light is being shown and you're moving that flashlight around the dark room, you're seeing more and more of what's available to you, what you need to do, what you can do, and what resources you have. That's planning. An architect always plans the design. The construction crew always has the design plans. Otherwise, they're not going to know what to build, where to put things, where to pour the concrete, where to place the rooms. They follow the blueprint. You always create a blueprint, but you know that the blueprint has to be adaptable. It's got to be able to change with the changing circumstances, the market flows, the ebb and flows of people's values. COVID hit us. That threw everybody for a loop. Now we're doing more things online, just like this video, not in person. And I can introduce myself to the world to a greater number of people by doing videos like this online. I had to change my plans. Rather than recruiting people into seminar rooms, into local conference rooms in my area, I can make videos like this. I had to change my plans to make my coaching work. So you always start with the plan with the understanding that the plans will change, because if you're stubborn and you don't adapt and you stick to a plan that isn't taking you in the right direction, that's another cause for failure. You get stubborn and fixed on, no, this is what I want to do, but you don't have an audience. Your audience doesn't care about what you want to offer. They only care about what problem do they have and can you solve it. Do you have the product that they want, yes or no? I want this particular car. Do you have it? I want a Chevy Corvette. I'm not going to go to a Ford dealer. If you have the product that the people want, they will come to you because it answers a question they have. How can I make my life easier with your product? How can I make my life more pleasurable with my product? How can I make my life more successful, more fulfilling, more satisfying with your coaching? How can I make my life more financially successful with your investment strategies? So you always have a plan and a strategy, with the understanding that the plan and the strategy will change and you go along, because you're going to learn as you go. You can't know everything. It's just impossible to know every dynamics and what's around every corner. But you can go into any situation knowing that you can learn as you go and the plans can change, but you start with a plan. You always start with a plan. Plan your work and work your plan. This is Dr. Spencer Coaches. If you have any questions at all, feel free to ask. Go ahead and leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I sure hope this helps. Thank you so much for listening.